So this one here, we're gonna work on external rotation of your hip. So remember, one of the main things we're trying to do in these early stages is maintain hip function when we can't be weight bearing or when our hips are all out of whack because of the height discrepancy between the boot, the floor, crutches, whatever you're doing. So hip external rotation is one of the functions of the hip, and obviously I'm doing this on the injured side. Basically I'm trying to make sure that my knee is staying where it is, so I don't just throw my leg around the place. I'm really trying to think about where my hip meets my socket, my hip, my femur, my thigh bone meets my joint, and I'm thinking about that twisting inside my hip. You're gonna feel cramping all around the front and back of your hips, small little muscles, and remember, we wanna go for that cramp, we wanna go for that burn. I'm doing this in between sets, heavy sets of single leg work on my good leg, going pretty heavy, like 45, 50 kilos. That's just because of my previous experience, whatever. Everybody's gonna be different with that. You could even be doing that work body weight, but you can push much more on that left leg, and that's the key. So I'll go good leg, injured leg, good leg, work hard, injured leg, work what I can. Oh, fuck. Oh shit. Those ones, it's a lunge version, it's a lunge variation, it's body weight, it's very hard. I'm using this to hold on, give myself a little bit of support. Be perfect if you haven't done any of this work before, absolutely perfect. You go as hard as you can, as many reps as you can to burn it out. All right, this is a weird one. So this is hip internal rotation. So I've got my knee up on the bench, and now I'm thinking of that twisting action inside my hip to bring my foot up to the sky. I'm trying to be nice and strong through my core because it's very easy to just let your core go from side to side, wobble around, all of that kind of stuff. Remember, the number one thing we're trying to do, don't put any tension, don't put any pressure on that calf. So if you're doing stuff like this and you feel it, back off. You know, I'm not saying don't do this if you've never done it before. I'm saying explore, like you got it, like we have to be working as hard as we can in every area that we can work. Injury is no excuse for doing nothing. Doing nothing is the worst thing we can do for an injury, and a lot of us are dealing with like outdated advice that just doesn't match the research that's out there. So sometimes we get these protocols of just complete rest, and the problem with that is you don't get blood flow. Movement elevates your heart. Your heart going faster pumps more blood around your body. Blood flow is what brings all those nutrients, it brings oxygen and cellular repair, everything that's going to happen when a cell changes structure. Muscle is built, tendons are strengthened, it all happens because of blood flow. So if we're not moving, we're not getting blood flow. We're also not getting something called lymphatic drainage. So your lymphatic system, the only way, that doesn't have a pump like a heart. The only way that works is by movement. Movement pumps lymph around your body. So that's getting rid of all the dead stuff, all the drainage of the gunk, the old cells, the dead cells, and we want to get rid of those and replace them with new cells. So you have to move, you have to find what you can do. These exercises are just potential inspiration for what that might look like. Okay, so we're gonna go for leg extensions here, and this is a massively important exercise for the weak leg. So I'm gonna go heavier on the good leg. I'm gonna push it as hard as I can. Oh, fuck. 9 reps, hard as I can. Might even be a tad bit too heavy. What I'm looking for there is that my nervous system doesn't forget what it's like to work hard. So we'll say if you're not working super hard beforehand, don't start working super hard now. Your hard is the level that you were working at beforehand. We're not going to gain anything. We're not getting stronger than we were before until this boot is off and the real training happens. But the goal is that drop doesn't get so fucking massive, you know? So everybody's going to be different. So if you weren't training before, you do whatever. Like, anything is going to be better than nothing. So even if that leg is on the edge of the chair and you're just working, lifting a body weight, like just lifting no weight, just your body up and down, that's going to be great. 100%. That's going to get that blood flow that we're talking about. Now, for the weak leg, you can see I'm doing way more reps. So I'm doing higher reps, lighter weight. The lighter weight is so that I don't stress the entire structure. I don't pull on that calf. I don't do anything to screw myself up. But I have to do much higher reps to get to that failure, to get to that burn. So I'm trying like 20 reps, whatever it is. Next week, I've ordered it, it should be here already, but next week I'm also going to use something called blood flow restriction training. Blood flow restriction training is where you constrict your thigh. It allows blood to flow in, but it keeps more blood in the muscle. And there's been a lot of research to show that you can train with much lighter loads and get the same or similar benefits to training with like 70 or 80% of your 1 rep max. It's called BFR training, and it's really, really important. Another aspect of why I'm training my good side so hard is something called the cross-training effect. And the cross-training effect has been shown to maintain a little bit of muscle and a little bit of strength on the leg that we can't use, because your nervous system, your brain, the neurology behind the whole thing, that holds on to what we're doing. So if we provide the stimulus, so I'm giving it that stimulus, I'm giving it that hard push on this left side, on the good side, and that's telling my brain, oh shit, we need to use this, don't forget about this, because everything coming from my right side is, forget about me, you don't use me anymore. I gotta switch up those signals and be like, absolutely do not forget about me, I'm just taking a little break, I'll be back from holidays in a couple of weeks. And I don't want to have to deal with 562 emails, so you better keep up a bit of the slack. Okay, so this one, calf raise. Now, with the calf raise, my biggest fear with all of this is that I'm going to do my left leg, because we generally know that you're not going to get an Achilles rupture unless you've got tendinopathy, which basically means that it's ready to go, and it's just going to happen sometime. Now I know some of you have had what we call trauma, where a door fell on you, or you had an accident, motorbike accident, car accident, all those things. That's slightly different. For me, it just went. It just went. So what I know about that, and what specialists also told me in the MRI, is that there was a lot of tendinopathy. So I was kind of feeling my Achilles before this happened, and I kind of, I was doing all the things that I would never tell people to do, which is kind of playing through it a little bit, yada yada yada. Now I can feel it on this side, and the last thing I want is for this side to go. And we're all hearing stories of Yeah, I came back and 4 weeks of being back into it and my left leg goes. And like for me, the trauma of that is going to be fucking unbelievable. So I'm not going to waste this opportunity to start training my tendon and my muscle on that left side. So I'm doing calf raises and single leg obviously. And it's quite, you know, it's just doing this, it's quite weak. So what I'm doing here is full range of motion. And I'm looking to burn out the muscle. All right, now, as many reps as I can. I don't really care. I'm just going for sensation on this one. Really trying to get that burn, trying to get my heel up as high as I can. We read so much about that heel raise being a key performance indicator as to like whether we can go back to walking, get out of the boot, all that kind of stuff, go back to running. So I already want to make sure that my left side is nice and strong and then I'm able to get up off the ground. So I'm just doing 2 sets of that because this is my first time doing it. 2 sets is going to be enough. 1 set might be enough for you. On day 1 it's about stimulate, not annihilate. I also am using that an awful lot. So like all my load is on this. So like I'm being cautious with that. Now the thing that's really, really important for tendon strength is called isometric contractions. And an isometric contraction is if I squeeze right now, if I squeeze my muscle, right? It's not moving, but it's contracted, right? When I lower my muscle, it's contracted, but it's eccentric, it's moving with weight. And when I pull up, it's concentric, it's pulling up. So what I'm gonna do is an isometric hold. So I'm gonna push down on this, and I'm going to hold it at 2 positions. The first time I'm going to hold it at the bottom. And so I'm pushing down into this. And I'm pushing as hard as I can. I'm trying to move this, but I'm putting all my weight on top, so it's not going to go anywhere. I'm trying to push as hard as I can. I want to cramp. I really want to work as hard as possible. And isometric contractions are proven to build tendon strength. Muscle is much easier to build strength in. Tendons and ligaments much harder because we don't get the same level of blood flow. So holding those positions for longer gives us more time under tension. So it allows the tendon to actually receive more stimulus, right? So really important. So I'm going to do at the bottom. See, I was at the bottom, and then I'm going to pull up at the top. So I'm going to go here as well. So I'm going to bring this up a little bit. Boom, boom, boom. Bring it up, bring it up, bring it up. Come on. And now I'm all the way up at the top, and I'm pushing down into it. I'm pushing as hard as I can. Now, I always say this: if you're not shaking, you're faking. So you really want to work with this. It's so, it can be super scary when we've just gone through this massive fucking traumatic injury that's changed our lives completely for the weeks or months that we're going to, be hobbling around, years even. It's very scary to then want to fucking push hard. But we have to work hard enough to create the stimulus for the body to adapt. And from a motivation point of view, do you want to do this again? Do you want to set yourself up for the biggest and best opportunity to not have to deal with this ordeal again? So I know a lot of people wouldn't have been training beforehand. That is not an excuse to not start training new. Couldn't recommend it enough. Okay, so quick recap. What I did, it was heavy work for the back of for my hamstrings. So it was a single leg deadlift. You can do this without weight. It doesn't need to be heavy. No weight can be heavy for you if you've never trained before, so just do the movement. And then instead of doing the opposite side, obviously I did my internal rotation or my external rotation for my hip. And then the next exercise I did was the single leg lunge. I held onto something and just used a little bit of support. The newer you are to it, the more support you need. And and then I did my internal rotation, then I did my leg extensions, then I did my calves. So it was 4 exercises, which was just a little bit of work for the inside outside of the hip. Worked really, really hard, and that's all you kind of really need to be doing, you know. So when it comes to sets and reps, here's the most important piece. If you're starting out, 1-2 sets is enough to start out with. The lighter you do, the more sets you need. But when you're starting out, you want to make sure that you are kind of in control of everything that's happening. So if you do a shit ton of sets, you might know if it was the exercise that was the problem, or if it was the amount of the exercise that was the problem. So let's say you do it and you feel pain the next day. You don't know if it was the exercise, or you don't know if it was the amount of the exercise. So I want to control one variable at a time. So if you're starting out, your variable is just the exercise. It's not even the volume, because obviously you're not doing any volume. So I would just do 1 set to failure. And then the next day you can do 2 sets and yada, 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 yada. How many days a week? I'm training my good leg probably once a week. So far, that's what I've managed. I'm at the end of week 3, and I've trained my lower body since the injury happened. That was my second lower body hard session on my good side. And the reason being, I was just so sore on my left side because I hadn't worked out for 2 weeks, and then I pushed it hard and I was super sore, and it took me a week to recover. So I'm not going to push that. The right side I've trained 4 times. My injured side I've trained 4 times. Because my loads are so light, I can push more volume. So my intensity is low, so that means my volume can be high. When the intensity is high, the volume has to be low. So I would go by like muscular soreness, right? If you feel a little bit of soreness in the muscles, good, we want a little bit of soreness in the muscle. Obviously you don't want to contribute to the fact that you can't walk up and down the stairs when we already have this fucking boot on, but a little bit of soreness, not a bad idea. So things like the leg extensions that I was doing, right? I've done those 4 times now, and I'm using a super light weight, doing super high reps, and I'm barely sore with it, but it's enough for a stimulus, and I'm not trying to push anything because I don't want any. I don't want to risk anything. I don't want to put any pressure on that calf. Upper body I'm doing twice a week, and I'll do a cardio session, and I'll share what I'm doing for cardio as well. So there you have it. Again, not recommending, but I am absolutely recommending that absolutely everybody should be moving as much as possible. Like, you need to be moving as much as possible. You need blood flow, blood flow, blood flow, blood flow, blood flow. You can't let a local injury turn into a global weakness. That's how you get injured everywhere else. And that's what stops you from getting back to what you love. Whether that's walking the dogs, playing with the kids, whatever it is. So you need to be moving as much as you can. I'm not saying you have to do what I'm doing. You have to do what seems manageable for you and not be afraid of it. Okay? All right, I hope that helps.